Hello and welcome to Box, the football talk show brought to you by Sportology TV with myself, Ali Drew. On the last episode, I was joined by Harry Shoralambos, who was talking about his beloved Spurs and the ups and downs of being a Spurs fan at the moment. But on this episode, I'm joined by a presenter on BBC Sport and a presenter for Man City. Delighted to be joined by Liam Loftus. Liam, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. Just want to start off talking about, you're a presenter on BBC Sport. How did you get into this job? I guess, your dream job.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. So my entry into presenting was through Snapchat, which seems like so many years ago now. I applied for a job at Man City, like as a match day Snapchat presenter, which is the most I remember saying to my parents, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" But obviously, it's just sort of grown and grown from there. But yeah, I guess it's a dream job, but at the same time, it's just like I'm still like, "What? How am I here?" Like I used to do videos and Snapchat. Like, how honestly am I here? But yeah, it's good. It's like living the dream.
And how have you found it in the last year? Obviously, it's been difficult times. Football stopped for a bit, then it carried on. Fans aren't allowed in the stadiums, but how have you found it? I presume you can still go to some of the matches?
I've not gone to any matches for the last match I went to was Man City, Man United, like not this season, the season before. But yeah, I've struggled, like not being able to leave the house, not being able to like talk to people in person. It's all good like doing an interview over Zoom, but I just feel like it's really hard to make not like the opening minutes of an interview when you're talking to someone, you can sort of like suss them, break down. Like you can't really do that on Zoom, even like eye contact and stuff. Like now I feel like I'm looking right at you, but like where my camera is, I might not be. And it's just like little things like that. I've just found really difficult. And then just the whole like not being able to go to football, it's just what I've done. I've always done it. So yeah, I'm getting there a bit now. Like, I don't know, I'm like getting used to it and I'm not too mad at it anymore.
And hopefully, things are returning back to normal. There's talk of the last two games of the season. There's going to be fans, so hopefully not too far away.
Yeah, I feel like by the time the Euros come around, we should be all right. Well, there's fans. There's fans this weekend.
Yeah.
At the Carabao Cup. So yeah, it's the right. We're going in the right direction. So it's just now you can see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm happy because before it was like.
Never
Cat in a paper bag, like yeah, it couldn't get out. But now you can see that little bit of light. I'm sweet. I'm more than happy.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Right, let's talk about Man City. So, your boyhood team, who you've always supported, you started working for them. It's been an incredible season for Man City.
This season has been mad because I remember like start of the season it weren't looking too good. And it was like, I'm very much of like a realistic fan, and people don't like it because I'll be like, oh, don't worry about that. Like last season, I was like, oh, don't worry, it's just like everyone's just getting back to energy. Like doing X, Y, Z for so many years is gonna take its toll. So when it was like a bad start to the season, I sort of reassured myself like, oh, we can't watch it anyways. It don't really matter. Like it's all right. But yeah, it just sort of came out of nowhere. Once they played the games in hand, and then. Yeah, it's just nuts. We've not even got a striker. Like I don't understand. Like as much as I love Aguero, and he's obviously leaving, and people are like, oh, who are we going to replace him? Like, do we need to? But yeah, it's just a mad season. Like Champions League semi-final. I think that's it. That's all I want now. Champions League, and then I'm done. I can go to bed very, very happy.
What are your hopes for the Champions League? Do you think they can do it?
In my heart of hearts, I'm going to get battered for this, but I actually don't care. I think Chelsea are going to win it.
Okay.
Like I don't know what it is. I just think Chelsea are going to win it. I don't think Real Madrid look aside. PSG don't really scare me. I feel like they're very similar to City. But just something about Chelsea, just under Tuchel, they just look a bit better. And it's just all them things are coming up for him again. Like when you see like their run when they did win it, and it was like, okay, they beat a big Spanish side in the semi-finals. They had a striker who wasn't really doing anything, and he popped up and scored an important goal with Torres, and Werner could do it this year. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm a bit superstitious, and it just looks too perfect for him to not happen. like temporary managers come in. Yeah, it just looks a bit too perfect for me.
It will be interesting to see. Do you think it'll be it'll be Man City and Chelsea, and you think Chelsea will get it?
I don't know. I'm just not sure. I just think if PSG can score at the Etihad, it's going to be very hard. Like, they made a meal of Dortmund, and Dortmund are struggling in the Bundesliga. So this is just a typical City fan just not wanting to get excited. If we can get a result against PSG away from home, score 2 goals, then it all changes for me. But at the moment, I don't want to be too excited. I'm just going to stay level-headed.
Well, if we talk about the Premier League, then that's sort of wrapped up, to be honest. Something would have to go seriously wrong for them not to win it. What do you think is the main reason that they've been so successful? They've managed to be top and by quite a distance, quite early on through the season, midway through the table, they were top by quite a distance. What do you think the reason for that success is this year?
It's the squad depth, and the people can't see it. People don't want to see it because people don't rate everyone. But the team is so strong. Like, last year, obviously Sane's gone now, but even the back end of last year when they weren't winning the title, you had like Aguero, Jesus, Sane, Bernardo on the bench, and you just look and think these players are getting any team in the world, but they're not even getting in this team. And it's the same this year. How can we have Jesus, Aguero, Sterling on the bench, and then De Bruyne is playing false 9? That's not De Bruyne's position. It's like Man City are so spoiled with choice of players. They can play anyone wherever they want. The rise of Foden, I feel like we all knew it was going to happen, but it's just so accelerated. Losing Silva is always like, oh, would we replace him? Would it happen? A bit like with the company issue, but it hasn't seemed to matter. Everyone's sort of stepped up. Gundogan's been playing out of his skin. Yeah, it's just a squad depth. Everything sort of clicked. We changed it up. Pep always seems to do it. Like, he tries some stuff and you think, oh, I'm not sure about that. But he sort of got it out of the way early on and went, you know what, this works for us. Let's do it. And I just think, yeah, the depth of our team is just unbelievable. I think that's where Liverpool are lacking. They've got an amazing 11, but after that, who are they looking to? And that's why they're down where they are. But yeah, City have got 20 world beaters in their team, which is ridiculous. The fact that Laporte, who was arguably the second best centre-back in the country behind Van Dijk 2 years ago, can't get in the team, just shows like the team's ridiculous. Cancelo and Kyle Walker are arguably the 2 best right-backs in the league, and we're having to put one of them left-back or one of them centre-back. Like, it's an embarrassment of riches, and that's just that's why the league's wrapped up.
Yeah, and it's true, because obviously Liverpool have had some injuries, and then look what's happened. Great players, but when they're gone, it's a nightmare for them. So, in terms of anywhere to improve, for the transfers in the summer, where would you be looking? You mentioned, the striker.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to say improve, because we don't need to. Like, we don't need to improve. We're winning the league. Like, I think we need to replace Aguero. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of Gabriel Jesus. I know a lot of people don't rate him, but I think it's hard being a second striker, knowing I can go on a run of games here, but when this person's fit, I'm probably not going to be in the team. Like, what does that do to your mental, really? And he always seems to pop up with like 20 goals a season regardless. So I think I would be happy with a season letting him shoulder the burden of being the lone striker. I feel like the easy option is Haaland. Like, everyone wants Haaland. And I'm very much of the group that I don't think we definitely need him, but I don't want him to end up at the Chelseas, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids. So if he's there available, you've got to take it. You can't let it strengthen someone else. And he offers something different. He's big, he's strong. We haven't really had that since like Edin Dzeko, Negredo. Just offers something a bit different to how they play. And there's always that like, oh, Pep doesn't really play with a big striker, but when he has, it's worked. Lewandowski at Bayern had one of his most successful seasons. Ibra at Barca didn't work personality-wise, but he was scoring goals. He was still very good. So I think it does need to happen, mainly to stop other people. And then there's always like a left back. You always argue about left backs. Like, we always need a new left back. But I love Zinchenko. Like, I've loved him for ages. I think he's an unbelievable player, and I think he offers something that other left backs can't offer. And we've seen like Lahm, Kimmich come inside and play centre mid, and then everyone's like, "Oh, every right back or every left back can do that." It's not. So for Zinchenko to be an attacking fielder and be able to sit there, be so comfortable on the ball, we don't concede that many goals with Edison, Ruben Dias, Laporte, Stones. He doesn't really need to defend. That's not your main thing. So I just think a striker for me to come in, and then depending on what Fernandinho does, maybe another defensive midfielder. I'd bring back Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. I know he's got a bit of a weird contract with City. I don't know what it is, but I see him as like the natural heir, Premier League like game time already. But I don't know if Fernandinho doesn't retire and he stays. I think he's got years left in him. So for me, it's just replacing Aguero. I just don't think you can rest on your laurels almost and be like, yeah, we're doing really well. We'll lose this player. He's come back and bite us in the bum before with Company. Fair enough, we had already replaced him for Silva. But yeah, you can't rest on your laurels. You've seen other teams do it, and if there's a player available, you got to get him. Football feels like an arms race at the moment. Like, just get everyone you can because it's going to come back.
And are you a fan of Pep Guardiola? Are you, he's done an incredible job. You can't argue with it. No one can say that he's done a bad job. Are you a big fan of him and just think he's the right fit for City?
Yeah, massively. How I always see it is, even when he's having a bad spell and people are like, oh, Pep's got to go X, Y, Z, I always go, who and bring who in? And if you can't think of someone to bring in, why are we looking elsewhere? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's done, I think we've almost been spoiled by all the trophies he's won. He's raised the bar so high that now we lose a game, 2 games in a row, and we're like, this is an outrage. Pep needs to go. And you're like, okay, but why are your standards so high? Oh, because we did X, Y, Z in this season. I'm like, but who was the manager? Pep. Okay, so your expectations are now this high because Pep set them this high. And they're like, yeah, I guess so. And it's just a case of there's no one who could replace it. Like, it's just categorically, it's not happening unless they're like, you get the sentimentals, you go, oh yeah, but Company could come in. Okay, like, he's been at Anderlecht 2 years, year and a half-ish. There's no reason to replace him. And again, lose him and he goes where? You're going to go strengthen someone else. Goes to Juventus and makes them a dominant force. So no, we don't need to change him. He's the best manager of all time. And I think he might overtake Fergie as like the best Premier League manager. I do think it will happen. Obviously, you always romanticize about history and we'll always say Fergie's a guy. But in terms of like revolutionizing the game, I feel like it's a lot harder right now with modern football. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. And obviously, I'm always going to say that as a City fan, but I can appreciate what Fergie does. Like, okay, yeah, he's the greatest, he's a GOAT. But Pep's heading in the right direction. He's definitely heading in the right direction. He doesn't look like he's going to slow down. Maybe, I felt last season that he could have gone. That was, for me, it was like, does he still love the game, sort of thing? It was like, but then I guess everyone was just jaded. And everyone's back now. He's playing a different style to what we've seen before. So it's like, oh, he's actually got new ideas. So he still loves this because he's still a student of the game. So yeah, I can't see him going anywhere, and I can't see this team falling off a cliff and it not being successful. So why can't he be the best? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, we do need to talk about the European Super League because it's just been in the headlines. It sort of happened. Everyone was committed, then everyone pulled out. It's sort of now the fallout from it. What did you make of that whole thing? As a Man City fan, what did you make of it all?
I had some controversial opinions on it.
Okay.
I didn't think it was a terrible idea. I feel like the premises was good. It needed tweaking, but I don't think it was a terrible idea. The 15 teams can't leave it, I thought was honestly ridiculous. Like, that whole exclusivity of we're the biggest team, so we're not. It's very much like it's our ball. You can't. If you can't play, we're taking it home with us. And that bit I didn't agree with. But in terms of another midweek competition to potentially rival Champions League, I see people on Twitter complaining about the Champions League all the time. The new Champions League format, people don't like that. So why the sudden outrage when there's an alternative? And I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, but it's nice to have options. And I get that teams like Arsenal and Spurs, who haven't been as successful, are going, yeah, we deserve to be in as well, which is probably unfair to teams like Leicester and West Ham this season, who will probably get Champions League. But I don't think a new competition is that bad. And if you look back, like, wasn't that what the Premier League did? Like, it's a bit before our time, but wasn't that sort of the premise of the Premier League? And it's and the whole, like, some of it was mad, like Perez saying that young fans don't like football and stuff. It's just like, God, it's not true. Like, we consume football in different ways now. Not everyone goes to a game and watches football like that. They might watch highlights just on their phone or just stay up with Twitter and sort of thing. And that's another thing that I don't like about football is you don't go to games, so you don't know anything. But I've been to different countries, I've met different fans, and they're just as passionate anywhere. And just because they don't consume football the same as you, there's no reason to diminish their support or discredit their support. So, yeah, I don't think this will be the end of the Super League. I think it will be back in a different form. But it just needed tweaking for me. It wasn't no first. Well, I don't know how many ideas it'd been to get to that position. No idea is perfect, but yeah, I guess a lot of it's probably ignorance on my part. I didn't really understand why the Premier League was so against it, because it was a midweek competition. It wasn't a rivalry to them. But the more I do read about it, like people saying point deductions and stuff like that, maybe that's what should happen if they don't want teams to do this again. Obviously, being a City fan, I don't want it to happen because that could cause us to lose the Premier League. But football is for the masses. So if it is going to be a little ring-fenced operation that's not going to involve everyone, yeah, I'm very much against it. But if it's another competition that could rival the Champions League, that would be more accessible to watch, I've not got a problem with that. Do you know what I mean? It's very much good and bad. Very much good and bad.
I wonder if it had been more inclusive, and there was options for teams to drop out, and it was just almost like a mirror image of the champion. The best go in it, and that's just the way it is. These teams are starting in it. Then maybe people would have been more accepting, and also the fact that the Premier League then said, well, you can't be in the Premier League if you're in that, because then it becomes that or it's not both. But I do think deducting points is almost punishing the fans. And they were not the ones who were involved in it. So it is. But
at the same time, you look at like teams that go into administration, they get points deducted. That's not because of the fans. That's because of bad ownership. And like, as much as people say it, like it's not the players' fault that, like, I always think like with Bolton, like that players weren't getting paid and stuff like that, and then they get a point deduction. It's like, well, the players are already doing this for the fans, and now they're even a worse position. Football is a very difficult landscape to maneuver, sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't love the idea of the ESL, like the Super League, but I like the format. The two leagues of 10, top 4 teams go through, and it's straight into. I thought that was really good. I thought that would be way more entertaining than the Champions League, like, because sometimes you get drawn against the same couple of teams. I remember Man City got Shakhtar probably like 3-4 years in a row. Yeah, Shakhtar's okay, but I want to play other teams. I want to see them against other teams. Like, so I think a league of 10 each side is a good idea. Like, the format's good for me. It's just the ring fencing, and yeah, it's just an imperfect idea. But I don't think it's too far off.
Well, we may hear some more about it again soon. We may do. So I do want to ask about, obviously, Man City, top of the Premier League. Well, sort of that's them there. For the places underneath, United, Leicester, West Ham, do you think that they're going to be the top 4? Like, do you think that they're the positions that are going to be held till the end of the season?
Leicester, yes. West Ham, I think Chelsea will get top 4. I think. I don't know. I just feel like after seeing Leicester like bottle it last year, I feel like that experience is so necessary. I remember City doing it a few years ago, losing to Spurs, and Spurs claimed it. So I think that like experience is so massive. And it used to be Vardy's not scoring goals, Leicester aren't winning games, but Kelechi's doing it now. Love Kelechi. But I also, this is going to be off on a tangent. People think he was like come out of nowhere. He wasn't. He was the best player like, under 17s World Cup a few years back. Yeah, Leicester have got it for me. West Ham will probably drop out, but also I don't think that's a bad thing for West Ham. I always feel like we see so many teams overachieve who are usually like mid-table, and they haven't got the squad size to go and play in Europe. I mean, they'll drop down into Europa anyways. But yeah, so many teams we see like really get buckled by it. Leicester now play.
They weren't even mid-table. They were struggling.
Oh yeah,
they were like relegation.
But this is what Moyes does. Like I think people forgot about like David Moyes when he went to United, because that's in our head now. You think Moyes and you think United flopped at United, but he was doing this at Everton. One of my friends, like growing up, was an Everton fan, and he was doing this at Everton. He was getting Champions League. He was pushing around then. Like this isn't out of his character. He can take an okay team, and they can overachieve, and it's to the point where it's like, well, maybe they're not overachieving. You know what? Maybe they're a sixth sort of team, and I think that's what West Ham are going to become. But I feel like this season, Champions League could be too early for them. But at the same time, get Champions League and they can attract a lot bigger players. They might build a squad for it. You never know. With financial fair play all over the place now as well, they can go out and spend the money. So it's interesting. I feel like this is an interesting league, even though Man City have sort of run away with it. Leicester and West Ham. Leicester have been an interesting storyline since like the title win. But now they're sort of knocking about, and it's like, okay, they could be the next team. They're run so well, the players are there, the recruitment's unbelievable. Why not?
Yeah, because they've had a lot of injuries. I think actually I saw a stat that they've had the most injuries out of all, but then yet look at what they're still achieving despite these, and you say Liverpool suffered injuries, but they're really struggling with it. Whereas Leicester, it's like it's not affected them.
I think Leicester have had periods when injuries have sort of got to them, but again, it's down to that squad. They've got 18 players who are good, who get in that team if they're all fit. Like if Leicester have got a completely fit squad, Brendan Rodgers has got a bit of a headache. He's going, this person on form is doing all right. Liverpool have got a completely fit squad. What is it, 12 players? Do you know, like, and that's no disrespect to Liverpool. I think their starting 11 is probably the best in the Premier League. I've said it for years, like since they ran Man City to the title, like really close. But you've got to have the team. It's not just the starting 11. You play too many games now. It's not just the Premier League. It's not just the Champions League. There's too many games, and I think that might be the downfall at Man City. Pep always wants to play all 4 trophies, which I think is how it should be played. But yeah, it all comes down to squad depth. You've got to have, I don't want to say two good players in every position. That seems so like, that's just so standard and everyone says that. But yeah, you need good players in every position, and you need to have reliable backups. Even if they're not world-class players, like if they can come in and do a job, that's all you need, and you can mount a challenge. Look at West Ham.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Liam, before we finish, I always ask this question, so I'm going to ask you. Who do you think is the greatest player that you've ever seen play live?
Ooh, the greatest player or the greatest performance? Because they're different.
Both. Tell us both.
So the greatest player I've ever seen live is Lionel Messi. Like it's just, you can't. I think he's the GOAT, so I can't ever say, oh, it's not him. But the greatest performance I've ever seen live is Eden Hazard. Live just against City, Chelsea. I think they won 3-1. And he was just honestly the most dominant player I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, everything he did was like, I don't know, it was like a video game, but with no mistakes. Like, I know how you picture something in your head. Like, I've done it playing football before, and it's like, okay, the ball's going to come down, I'm going to touch it like this, I'm going to spray it over there. And I was like, it's honestly like, this is Eden Hazard's dream. Like, I'm watching a dream. Like, everything's going right. And it was ridiculous. Like, and I don't think people give Eden Hazard the props that he deserves, because he didn't get like loads of goals or the stats aren't amazing. But watching him was ridiculous. Like, I used to dread it to watch him come up against Pablo Zabaleta. I used to love Zaba. Oh man, like, not again. Eden Hazard, definitely the best performance I've ever seen. But yeah, it's Messi. Messi's the best player I've ever seen, but Eden Hazard will definitely put on a better display than Messi, but Messi's the GOAT. So
good choices there, good choices. Liam, thank you so much for joining me. It's great talking to you. I know you're busy, so I'll let you get on with all the other bits that you're doing, but hopefully get you back on again on the show.
Thanks for having me, for sure. For sure, come back on.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Great to be joined there by Liam Loftus. But guys, make sure you stay tuned because we have lots more coming up on the channel. So please keep doing what you're doing, supporting the channel, subscribe, share, leave us some comments, let us know what you think. But keep doing what you're doing and supporting us because we do really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.